All right, yesterday I posted a video about a guy named Stefansson. This is from 1957, and this was him talking about his time and he spent living among what were called Eskimo at the time, or the Inuit, back around the early 1900s. And he basically stated that, in his belief, what he observed was meat plus fat was all that was necessary for a perfectly balanced diet. They were healthy, and he was healthy when he did that. Now, this prompted a comment that said that, hey, look, he didn't live very long, neither did Vince Gironda. I don't know about the Inuits, didn't live long. Where are the old people that do a meat-based diet? And so a couple just sort of responses to that. So Stefansson died at age 82. Now, he was born in 1879. If you look at life expectancy tables for somebody born in 1879, they would have, on average, lived into their 40s, right? So he well exceeded that, but a lot of it has to do with infant mortality. But even though the fact that he made it, if he lived to 40, they were expected to live, to about 70 at that point. He exceeded that as well. And so the other thing is, he did not do a carnivore diet his whole life. He did that while he lived in Canada for about a dozen years, and then he came back to a more normal diet. He eventually got, he developed arthritis in his knee and other maladies. He went back to a carnivore diet later in his life for a period of time, it's believed. But again, he lived 82, which is well beyond his life expectancy based on when he was born. Now, the same thing with Vince Gironda. Vince Gironda was born in 1917. He again well exceeded his life expectancy by making it to age 80. Now, in general, the question around the Inuit, did they have a shortened life? Well, if you look at modern Inuit, they do have a life expectancy that's shorter compared to the rest of the Canadians, for instance. But that hasn't, that really doesn't have a lot to do with, what their native diet was. When they were first contacted back in the early 1800s, there's a data from a Russian survey expedition where they looked at the death rates among these people, and what you saw was that there were Inuit making it into their 80s and even 90s in this table here. Now, many of them died younger. Again, this is remember, they live in one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. Violence is very common, falling through the ice, and of course, the risk of infectious disease, which is always there, which always kills a lot of people. And their overall average life expectancy was something like 43. At the time, back in the 1830s. Now, you compare that to, say, Great Britain in approximately the same time frame, and that life expectancy was around 41. So they actually were living just as long as anyone else in the world, and also living in one of the most dangerous, like I said, inhospitable places on the planet. Now, the modern Inuit, again, and one of the things that most people don't know is one of the things that contributes to their relatively shortened life expectancy of around 70 today. They smoke a lot, and not just a little. They smoke more than just about any other population on the entire planet. Some estimates put their smoking rates at 70%, and they usually start smoking at about 8 years of age. And so I think most people would concede that a lifetime of smoking beginning at age 8 for the vast majority of the population would have an impact on life expectancy, clearly, correct? The other thing to note is that with the introduction of modern foods. Now, there's some theories that, there's this sort of insulin resistance trait that has developed as a protective mechanism. That is to say, if you go long periods of time, say you're doing long sea voyages, this is why some of the Pacific Islanders are thought to have the same sort of situation, or long land excursions across frozen wastelands, you are not going to be exposed to a lot of carbohydrates. So what you have to do, your body sort of has this sort of physiological insulin resistance so it can drive any glucose that is produced into the brain, into the adrenal glands, the testicles, the kidney, the red blood cells that are sort of absolutely dependent upon glucose. And so by shunning that away from the muscles, i.e. insulin resistance, the muscles can run on fat, more or less. Then the glucose is spared for these situations. So that is considered an adaptive trait in many situations. And these Inuit, who many would argue originated in Siberia and then migrated, that was the reason for that. So when they're exposed to higher carbohydrate diets, like we see with the Native Americans, the Pacific Islanders, Inuit, things like that, they end up with really, really bad metabolic disease. So anyway, interesting. The other thing I'll say is, I don't know. Who knows who's going to live the longest on any diet? I don't think we have any data that would point us one way or the other. What I will say is staying in shape, being fit, not being fat, not smoking, not drinking excessively, exercising, being strong are things that are likely to drive longevity. Certainly it'll help with health span. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, probably will help with longevity. Hopefully, perhaps so. That's the bet I'm taking, I guess. But again, I don't dwell on that. I dwell in the here and now. You know, for all you know, you're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. So anyway, thanks for the comment, the question. But there is some insight in this thing. You know, I think it's something that I think you would be better served in worrying about how you can get healthy today than if you're going to live to 100 or not. That's just my personal take on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.